Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash Episode 2 video introducing Dr. Alchemy, a couple other new characters. So I already have a couple theories, just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. So much stuff to get through. So Dr. Alchemy is really like the big new intro with Tom Felton's character. He was fantastic. I am so happy they're letting him use his normal British accent and not trying to shoehorn in a fake American accent just because it's an American TV show. And as we saw, his name is Julian Albert, not Julian Dorn. I think that was for a very particular reason. They didn't want you to start connecting dots before the season had started. So number 10, meet Julian Albert, who is a CSI just like Barry, but totally hates him just because Barry is really shady if you actually sat down and analyzed his behavior. Like, you wouldn't have known his name was Edward Claris unless you did the thing I told you not to do. So I can't trust you, so I don't like you. I don't like people that I don't trust. The funny pitch about his character, though, is that everybody else on Team Flash seems like they totally like him. Oh yeah, Julian, he's great. Like, Barry just has absolutely no idea what's going on with him. But number 9, Dr. Alchemy. So he seems really cool. He has the Philosopher's Stone, just like he has in the comics. I think we're going to learn more about that in the next couple of episodes, because it does seem like Dr. Alchemy is the big bad, at least for now. Even though we do have Savitar, he's supposed to be a separate character, so it just remains to be seen where he surfaces. But we'll talk about him in a second. A lot of you probably spotted the name Julian Albert and your mind just started going through all the iterations. Like, Albert Desmond is the name of the first Dr. Alchemy. He has a split personality. There's Albert and Alvin Desmond. One of them is Dr. Alchemy. The other is a totally normal chemist. Before they did that though, Albert and Alvin were twins with a psychic link. So what might be happening here, because we're dealing with 3 different timelines that, like the way Jay Garrick explained it, they're all kind of fracturing. So maybe via Philosopher's Stone, there's like a psychic link or a connection between Dr. Alchemy and Julian Albert. So Julian Albert himself is like a totally normal person, just exactly what he says he is. He's a pretty good CSI that everybody likes, but without realizing it, he is also connected fundamentally to Dr. Alchemy. But what happened is that even though that was kind of the relationship with Dr. Alchemy with the Alvin and Albert Desmond in the comics to begin with, what they did is they retconned that later and made it like a split personality thing. So eventually the Flash was able to separate those personalities, and Alvin Desmond, like the good version of Dr. Alchemy, the actual the good persona, was able to lead a normal life. But the thing about the Alchemist's Stone is that it gives Dr. Alchemy the power to transmute elements into different things like normal alchemy, but the power also works on normal humans, so he can use the Philosopher's Stone to reduce people to like water vapor or anything else. So Dr. Alchemy might be leaving those husks behind that they keep finding when he gives people their powers back, so to speak. So that was actually, I really talked about like 2 or 3 different things there. So we'll skip to we'll say number 7 WTF. So the rival is back. He gets his powers, so he starts beating the crap out of the Flash with the help of Dr. Alchemy. But by the end of the episode, he fails, and it seems like Dr. Alchemy is going to turn him into a husk or reabsorb his power into the Speed Force, or it could be a hat tip for Savitar. It's just that the arm that grabs him looks like a gauntlet, kind of like Savitar wore in the comics, so we could be seeing the beginnings of Savitar. Alchemy says that he's helping people reach his potential. Barry was like, I was just trying to fix my timeline. I'm sorry, Claris. I wasn't trying to take anything away from you. So they're kind of being ambiguous with heroes and villains. Like, it's all a matter of perspective. And then when Alchemy says he's preparing this world, it made me think of the Fortnite crossover, like preparing it for the Dominator's invasion. So Alchemy is one of the other people that knows about the other timeline, but remains to be seen what he is preparing the world for. But number 6 WTF, just explaining some of the Savitar stuff that's going on, because they're mixing and matching some Dr. Alchemy Savitar stuff from the comics. So we've seen Dr. Alchemy, he's the one who is convincing people to get their powers back. Don't you want that life back? It's kind of the reverse lesson from what Cisco got in therapy. I feel like these memories of Dante are just reminders of another life. So Cisco is learning to get past the fact that there are things that he'll never get back. He won't get his brother back. But Dr. Alchemy is kind of preaching the opposite of that, saying you can get all this stuff back. You can get these powers back that you used to have. But the place where he is with those followers looks like the Speed Force cult that Savitar has in the comics. It even looks like the castle where Savitar's main base is. So it's almost like they have a bunch of Savitar set design with Dr. Alchemy transplanted in his place. So I don't think they're combining the characters, but when they started talking about husks, I was like, oh, this sounds exactly like the Savitar storyline, because Savitar gives Speed Force powers temporarily to some of his followers. They become like Speed Force ninjas that go after Barry and Team Flash, but when they use up their powers, like when the Flash family defeats them, they just vaporize into nothingness. Like you can hear Bart Allen here just go, ew, this is gross. So that's what I thought of when they said husk, but it seems like the husks are just what's left over when the Flashpoint timeline version rewrites the current version of the character. So like you have Edward Claris, normal person, being rewritten by Flashpoint Edward Claris, who is the rival with Speed Force powers. So the regular version of Edward Claris that we met at the beginning of the episode is kind of overwritten and becomes the husk. So that's kind of what it seems like is going on. But number 5, WTF, they say about 4 people so far have been turned into husks. So that means that there are 4 new metahumans that will probably meet in the next couple of episodes. But I know a lot of you are like, what about Wally? Wally was Kid Flash in Flashpoint. Does that mean that he'll also get his Speed Force powers back, since everybody seems like they're getting their Flashpoint powers back? I think it's definitely a hat tip to that, because they wouldn't spend all that time hyping up Kid Flash only to take it away after a single episode. Like, it actually cost them a lot of money to make those costumes, so they're not just gonna throw that in the garbage and then never do it again. Speaking of getting things back though, number 4, big one, Connor Hawke is retconned onto the show because of Flashpoint. So he goes to Felicity at the beginning of the episode, dumps all his Flashpoint baggage on her, and she's like, I wonder if any of that's gonna affect us. And she's talking about like the Arrow characters. So he basically checks their database for any potential changes in everyone's backstories and finds that Diggle has a son instead of little baby girl Sarah. So they're turning the Legends of Tomorrow Connor Hawke storyline, like potential future, into actual future. So Connor Hawke is now canon to the TV show. That's the biggest twist that the Arrow producers have said is going to happen because of Flashpoint. So like no Black Canary coming back just because of Flashpoint. But number 3, badass fight between Barry and the rival, Cisco with the save and his Vibe gauntlets. So there's actually a whole bunch of Easter eggs happening here. So we get Vibe almost in a costume, like he says, maybe in the future I'll be ready for something like that. So 1, that's just them saying that Cisco will eventually wear a Vibe costume. But 2, they were fighting at the Prescott Sawmill, as in Saw, Jigsaw. Tobin Bell is the voice of Jigsaw, is also voicing Dr. Alchemy. I'd like to play a game, Flash. So awesome hat tip to the Saw franchise. Barry lays out the rival with the help of Cisco. They throw him in Iron Heights prison. Number 2, WTF, he's seemingly killed by Dr. Alchemy. Now, this could be Dr. Alchemy. We can't really tell because of the gauntlet. It could be somebody new like Savitar. Savitar wore gauntlets in the comics. Invoking comic book rules, we don't see him die on screen. That means he's still alive. They might save his kill for Savitar's appearance in the future, like Savitar just absorbs his Speed Force, because that's what Savitar does in the comics. He steals Speed Force. So I feel like a lot of the Dr. Alchemy stuff is leading into Savitar stuff, but just remains to be seen how they surface him on the TV show. Caitlin Snow is hiding the fact from everyone that she has Killer Frost powers. So obviously episode 7, Kevin Smith's episode, is called Killer Frost. That might be where this comes to a head, but that's a ways off. So the team could find out before that, but Caitlin's mother is a character that's going to be appearing during season 3, so she has like a really terrible relationship with her. That could lead to some really awful accidents, something really traumatic happening with her character. Just big episode 7 Killer Frost things happening, but for now it seems like that's going to remain a secret. Number 1, WTF though, this was kind of fun. I mean, there were a lot of like great moments that were all kind of on the same level, so I don't really consider this too much better than the other stuff, but it was all really big. Jay Garrick Speed Force cock blocks Barry before he can derp again, like going back a 3rd time to try and fix Flashpoint, and explains to him what he's doing to the time-space continuum each time he tries to change the past. You're breaking it like this coffee cup. I've made the same mistakes as you. So I'm like, wait a minute, does that mean that Jay Garrick changed his own past? What kind of problems did that create? But he also explains that Harrison Wells, kind of gave him the story about Barry's father, him being the doppelganger. So John Wesley Shipp, the actor, kind of explained that Jay Garrick isn't going to be quite as nurturing as Henry Allen was to Barry. He'll be a mentor, but it'll be like a tough love thing. Like, okay, you want to be a hero? You want to be the Flash? Put your big boy pants on. You don't get to take a mulligan every time you derp. So Jay Garrick just sounds like he's not going to be hugging Barry a whole lot this season, but just looking forward to Wally West getting his powers back, seeing Jesse Quick in the next episode. That's going to be a lot of fun. But let me know, like, what were your guys' favorite moments from the episode? Just seeing Dr. Alchemy, seeing the Alchemist Stone, meeting Tom Felton. There was so much stuff that's happening, and they're only jamming their foot on the gas. Like, there's so much new stuff to introduce in the next episode. There are a lot of great character moments. I like the way they change the characters just a little bit. Everybody gets to be a little more complex. But get hyped, it's going to be an awesome season. And everybody, give me your Dr. Alchemy theories. I still feel like it might be a dual identity, split personality type thing. Something that's a slight twist on Dr. Alchemy's origin story in the comics. Because there was a Dr. Alchemy that worked as a CSI with Barry, but there was also one with a split personality. There were twins. I feel like they're doing something in that vein. But there is a new round of the giveaway. All you guys have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. So tomorrow, new episode of Arrow, and then Legends of Tomorrow premieres on Thursday, Justice Society. I'll try to get the rest of my Luke Cage out as fast as possible, so whole bunch of comic book stuff happening in the next couple of days. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here to watch the Metallo Supergirl trailer, and you can click here for my Supergirl Episode 1 Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.